you still had freshman football. We played a 4-game freshman season. And again, I made a big transition in football from being recruited in high school as a quarterback, finish my career as a tight end, go to Kansas State, and I'm playing tight end, and then I moved to defensive end. Then my sophomore year, I'm playing defensive tackle. So, I always tell people that I ran myself closer to the ball. And as I got bigger and put on weight and strength was always my forte. So then, we changed coaches between my freshman year, right after my freshman year, and Vince Gibson came in and really changed everything at Kansas State for a while. And it was a rude awakening for a lot of guys. I remember there were 52 of us on scholarship. And back then, guys were walking away in that spring in the middle of the night. But that was during the Vietnam War.
Right.
And if you dropped out of college, you were going to the Army. You were flat going. You were getting drafted as soon as you dropped out. So your best bet was to stay in college and then kind of wait to see what happened when you graduated.
Right, absolutely. Now, to that point, you mentioned Vince Gibson and we gonna win and all that, and he came aboard and changed the fortunes. K-State football wasn't exactly storied, but you went there liking the community. What were your expectations from a football standpoint, and how did they improve once you got there?
Well, I knew when I went to I'm gonna get to play in the Big Eight, and the whole culture changed when he got there. It was totally different. Like I said, we had back then there was not too many scholarship limits, and I think we had 52 guys playing freshman football. We ended up being the best freshman team that Kansas State ever had. But by the time I graduated, only 8 of us finished.
Wow.
Out of the 52, because what Vince Gibson put us through, it was hell. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. And I'm thinking, because, he was trying to change everything at that time, and he recruited Len Dickey, and we had quite a good ball club. With we probably had 6 or 7 guys who went on to the pros. From that point with Matt Karen, Len Dickey, Larry Brown, I could go on and on and on. And at one time, my junior year, we were 5-1, just beat Oklahoma bad and ranked 10th in the country. And you'd have thought, Kansas State turned the corner. And then I graduated in 1970. And then they had one more good year, and then after that, it was downhill for a long time.
Yes, indeed it was. So you're at Kansas State. You're playing football, playing with good players on a good team. What was your life like away from football?
Oh, we had a good time. Obviously, we look back, and a bunch of us guys every once in a while still get together, and in fact, we're trying to put together a reunion of the freshman, our freshman class who finished. It was so different. Kids today, you're scrutinized with cell phones. I mean, you can't, if we had done the things today that we did back then, we'd probably all be in jail. With cell phones, you can't do anything, but it was never, it was just ornery stuff. It was
right.
What college kids used to do. Today, when you see it with guns and you see all the stuff going on, and, it is pretty simple stuff. People ask me how I met my wife, and we were a bunch of football players. We went and serenaded at a sorority, and we went out after that, and that's how my wife said, how'd you meet him? Said I was dancing on a table, and she said I looked interesting. So today you do that stuff, and it was harmless stuff.
Right. Was this a love at first sight type of thing, or did it take a while for you to woo Marilyn?
It it didn't take a long time. We hit it off, and then we were, then I went home for the summer because I was that back then. She lived here in Kansas City, and but back then you had to go home and work. I worked on the loading docks for 2 summers back in Cleveland with the trucks, and you had to get a summer job. Today they keep the kids there year round. You don't go home. You're there all summer and going to summer school, and so we would be apart for a summer and writing letters, and then came back and got married a year after that, and I still had a year to go. And she had graduated and was working on campus, and we lived in what we call married housing, and I was still playing football. And but it's funny today. It was pretty simple living, pretty simple life.
About what point when you were playing football did you think that you might want to coach football?
Well, I think I always wanted to. Once I was playing, I was kind of a fairly, I was a leader. I remember when Vince Gibson got there, they had an election of captains, and I'm a freshman, and he brought me in his office, and he said, Tony, you got 10 votes to be captain of this football team. I hadn't even played it down yet. So, I was always interested in it. Like I said, growing up in Cleveland with Jim Brown, and I used to sit in my room and listen on the radio and listen to the Cleveland Browns. I was a huge Browns fan. I tell people today I said I'm a Chiefs fan and a Royals fan, an Indians fan, and a Browns fan. And I said up until the Chiefs won, and the Browns have just made me suffer. And the Royals won, and the Indians have been pretty good for a while, but the Browns have made you suffer. No, I kind of knew, and so when we got married, the day I graduated, I got my draft notice. I was sitting in a barber shop back when I had hair on a Saturday in Manhattan, and the draft lottery had just come out.
Right.
And I picked up the paper, and I'm checking my birthday. I'm going down. I'm feeling pretty good. I hit number 72, and there I was.
Ooh.
So, and they said if you were 99, you were going, under 99.
Wow.
So the day I graduated, and I had a teaching and coaching job in Cleveland already lined up at John F. Kennedy High School. And so the day I graduated, I got my draft notice. And so we went back, and I knew I was going, and we were going to live back there because I had a job back there. And we go back, and I go to my physical. Well, and God must have had a way. I think I was getting a deferment because I was teaching in the inner city in Cleveland anyway. But I went out my junior year in spring ball. I had made a tackle, and my back was bothering me, and something went right. And they said, you need to go to student health and get some X-rays. So I go get some X-rays. And the doc come out and he said, well, you got a vertebrae that's not quite formed. The muscle got caught in there when you hit. And he said, probably it'll never happen again. But he said, if you take these X-rays and this letter, it'll probably get you a deferment. I go, you're kidding me. He goes, no. So I go through the physical. Now, I'm 6'2". At that time, I'm 237. And it's, at that time, that's a fairly big guy.
Right.
And I'm bench pressing over 400 pounds. I'm walking in. I'm in my skivvies. I go through the whole physical, and obviously I pass everything. And I get to the end, and the guy goes, do you have any reason we shouldn't take it? And I was going to go. I didn't have a problem. My dad served. My uncle served. I'm a patriot. I love the military and the Army. I've coached in 3 All-American games for the Army and a Marine game, and so I know I was going to go. I didn't have a problem with that. And they said, do you have anything that would keep you from going? And I said, well, only this letter and these x-rays from the doctor. And the guy looks at it and he goes, 1Y, which meant only in national emergency will we take you. And so when they stamped at 1Y, this guy is standing behind me. Now, you got to remember, I'm a weightlifter, and the guy looks at this guy and he goes, you're not taking this guy? Look at this guy. You know, he went nuts.
Wow.
He goes, look at him. And I got home and I said, they told me I'd only go into national emergency. And so that's how my life turned around.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
Hey Kansas City, Joe Spiker, Easton Roofing, back for another beautiful springtime in Kansas City. We are proud to announce our renewed partnership with Big Brothers Big Sisters of Kansas City. Starting in 2024, a portion of every job sold will be donated to a cause close to my heart. I was a big, and I encourage you to volunteer. And if you hire us for service on your residential or commercial roof, you'll know that a portion of the profits will go to a great cause. So call us at 913-257-5426. Easton Roofing. Integrity matters.
Always great to catch up with Dr. Brad Whittle of Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture. Everybody wants to make every year a great one mentally and physically, and certainly ASFCA can help in that regard.
Chiropractic, acupuncture, physiotherapies. We're going to address the body and the mind to keep you in great shape. With winter moving into spring, we don't want to have the opportunity to get hurt or to be slow and not do what we used to do, right?
Absolutely right, and you can do that in a variety of ways.
We can. We love looking at the body and how it moves, looking at the posture and how it holds us to be strong, to be safe, and really to help us do those things we love to do.
The wide variety and range of services you can get helps in that regard at Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture. 7 locations all around the Kansas City area. Find the one that's most convenient for you. And for more information, visit asfca.com/Danny. That's asfca.com/Danny. We're here at the 23rd Street Brewery with Matt Llewellyn. And Matt, basketball's over, football's still a few months away, but there's always fun to be had at the 23rd Street Brewery.
Absolutely. We've always got something going on here. The games are always going on. It's a great place to come enjoy everything out on the patio. Beautiful scenery out there. Great beer. I've got a great brewer, great food. It's always fun here at the brewery.
And the atmosphere is great and friendly and warm, too.
We always want to make sure you're a lot happier when you leave than you were when you came in.
Always fun here at the 23rd Street Brewery at 23rd and Castle. Make sure to come by when you're in Lawrence.
If you'd like to join these and other fine sponsors and market your business on Kansas City's #1 rated podcast, contact us at Danny@DannyKlinkscale.com. Look forward to working with you.
Our guest is Tony Severino, longtime coach at various stops, but mostly at Rockhurst High School, and of course, many state championships and many fewer losses than that. So you're about 1/10 state titles to losses, actually about that ratio. But our guest, so you're headed back to Cleveland. You're going to go back to your home area and teach, but your wife had other ideas, huh?
Well, I always tell people, she got a good job back there, and I'm coaching at John F. Kennedy High School, and I'm a JV coach, and I'm working with the defensive line, and we had a pretty good football team. John F. Kennedy was a heck of a school, but and people always ask me, well, but she never could go to a game. We were down in the inner city. In fact, I think the only game she went to, we were playing the #1 team in Pennsylvania, where a guy named Joe Moore was the head coach, who turned out to be the longtime offensive line coach at Notre Dame for years. Joe was the head coach there, and that's the only game my wife ever got to go to because where we had played, and it really wasn't safe back in those days. There was a lot of rioting and stuff going on from about 68 to about 71, somewhere in there. Cleveland. When the lake was on fire, Lake Erie was on fire, the Cuyahoga River, but I never thought, that's where I grew up. But, so she said, I always tell people She cried for 13 months, 10 days, 5 hours, 6 minutes, but who's counting?